So I've got a few things going on today. Hey, it's Care. Welcome to My Tech at the Lake. I know that most videos show you one project. From beginning to end, start to finish, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. It may go over like a lead balloon, it may not, but I'm just going to take you along with me whilst I play today. Usually I don't do this stuff on screen. I just bring it to you afterwards and tell you what I have done. So I'm going to play. I'm going to take you with me. One of the things I want to do, and I'll just show you some of my conundrums. So I saw a lady do several, actually. I was scrolling through and I found a pocket of people who are making lap books out of books. And I love the idea of a lap book. Sort of a office on your lap. It opens and then it opens and there's pockets and tucks and folios and whatnot. So you have a place for your pen and your papers and your correspondence. And I think they were pretty big in the 1800s, I think. And I'm not talking about lap books that are so popular with homeschool and K through 6 teaching. It's kind of the same idea, but more sophisticated. Anyway, I watched Michelle at the Creative Cove make a watercolor lap book that fits one of her travel size watercolor palettes in. So she built a little pocket for this and it just sits inside the lap book, and she's got her brushes in there and papers in there, and she can just grab this lap book and take it with her like a little mini watercolor studio. And I am in love with that idea. So I'm gonna make one, at least one, because I have a couple different travel size watercolor things. And I went down to my stash of books that I've gotten from St. Vinny's, or when our library was doing its massive reconstruction project, it weeded out truckloads of books, and one whole summer just put free stuff out. And so I've got quite a nice little stash of books. What I like about these is that they're almost exactly the same size. They're the same, from the same series. I got these at the free bin at St. Vinny's. Their spines are almost identical, not quite. And I thought, oh, this would be perfect for a lap book. I'm taking the guts out, the text blocks out, and just using these covers. But when I started looking at it, they've got these beautiful end papers, and they are perfect books to make my 3-in-1 books or my 4-in-1 books. I'm gonna do a whole video on that too when I do that. So I didn't want to, because the watercolor lap book that I'm going to make is going to be vintagey, grunged all up. And then that means I'm going to put either material or paper on these inside pages, and I didn't want to waste these gorgeous black end papers I think they'll be perfect for 3-in-1. So I'm keeping these. So I went back down to my stash and found these two. One is vintage, one is not so much. Just for giggles, I wonder how old this one is. Wow, it's older than I thought. 1979. So technically vintage. Nice deckled edge pages. Kind of pretty. So I can use those pages for sure. And then this one, I love this. I might leave that as that might be the cover. I don't know. This one is from 1948. Anyway, they're close to the same size again, and the same height, so I don't have to cut anything down. So once I locked onto this idea, so what I'm going to do, I'll come back to that. I'm going to take the text blocks out of these and just use the covers as part of the lap book. And what I'm going to do, and what I was going to say just a moment ago, I saw somebody making similar books, lap books, out of old books. And and this is a Krabby Crafter thing. This drives me insane because I see it a lot. Are you ready? Buckle up. They take things apart so that they can put them back together again. So this person cut these books completely apart, took the text blocks out, cut the spines off, and then built new spines. and then put it all back together. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you take it apart only to put it right back together again? Doesn't make any sense. Similarly, I see people who make master boards. They make a giant thing of something, 24 by 24 inch something or other. And then they cut it down and then Mod Podge one at a time. Why would you not Mod Podge one thing instead of one at a time times 50 versus one big one? Why would you do that? Makes no sense to me. I don't have the kind of time. So what I'm going to do is take my books apart, and I'll just do it here with you. And ideally, I won't get kittywampus and crazy. Now, part of me wants to go back downstairs and find a different book because I really like this, and I was going to use it for Christmas because it's got a red cover. I know in my Christmas totes, I have several vintage red covered books. I don't need this one. That's why it was in the extra stash. This one has a lot of cool numbers and stuff that I'll be able to use. Oh, look, lots of 13s. Chapter 1, page 287. What? Oh, book 5. Got it. Book 5, chapter 1. Look at how yummy this. Anyway, back. Would you just try to stay on topic? So it's easy when they pull away like that to see where you want to cut, because I have several times cut into my spine because I just get carried away using a utility knife, not a small craft knife. It's got a larger, sharper blade. Of course, all the blades are sharp, but this got a larger blade versus just, and I'm leaning my blade toward the text block. So if I slip, it's gonna go into the text block rather than the spine. And this is a nice easy one because I can see what I need to be cutting. There, and I'm going to flip it upside down and do the very same thing on the other side. I could probably, it's crispy and old enough, I could probably, now because the text block's on that side, I have to tilt my knife that way a little bit. So again, I don't damage my beautiful vintage spine. I say, as because I've done it several times, I just get all carried away, go too fast, and get too impatient. There, so we've got a nice text block. So many possibilities to use this. I will cut some of those fun numbers out for my numbers collection and the chapter things, some of the illustrations, some of the words, certainly the date. And then you can use these for tags or doodle art. And oh, do I have any handy? I wonder where I put them. Those wonderful flowers. You can make a whole garden of flowers. I mean, there's so much to do with this text block. This will not go to waste for sure, especially since it's so nice and vintagey from 1948. Now, this has some pages left in it. And I don't want them in there. I do I like the end papers that are original to it, so I am going to leave that one in there. Gentle, light, easy hand. I always turn it, instead of trying to do it this way or an awkward way, just flip it upside down. I see a lot of people doing that, like arguing with it rather than just turn it to make it easier on themselves. Sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. This book was good, a little slow. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'm thinking a 3. So there's one. That could be the back. That would be kind of a cool back cover. And this one, we're going to pull that text block out too so we can see. Can you see right here? It's pretty clear. And it helps to keep that pulled apart from that text block, and I'm going to tilt it this way because that's where my text block is. I'm going to just do the same thing. Sometimes you have to go through twice, better twice, and slow and easy, than too fast and jack it up. See, my knife is slipping if I do it that way. Sometimes if you do the other side first, it's easier. Whatever makes this easy is best. I'm going to tilt the knife that way. Excuse me, this way again, because that's where my text block is. You can make these out of chipboard too. You can just start from scratch, and there's all kinds of videos out there on how to do that. We all try to put our own spin on things, and like I said, one of my biggest things that I want to share with you today is you don't have to take it apart, cut out the spines, and then build new spines. It just makes no sense whatsoever to do it that way, unless you want bigger spines. But if you're going to make the same exact thing, and the reason I picked these two books was because I liked the size of the spine. So I'm not changing anything. Come on, work with me here. I might need a new blade. That might help. My blade was nice and sharp. It might not be. Look at that. I could have chewed it off better. Oh, there's a lot of glue on this one. Maybe that's why. Just a truckload of glue. It's kind of cool. You can see all their little signatures. They're all sewn and then glued. The signatures are the collection of papers. There's a few in each, and then they're bound together. It's kind of cool to see how these old ones are done. This is kind of, it feels like adhesive, but it's kind of some sort of material. This is like a crepe paper that they glue, so they're not only sewn in. See, you can see sewn. Let's see where the threads are. You see that? Versus today's book, they're not, many of today's books aren't sewn, they're just glued. This one too looks like it's got some fun title and numbers. Part 2, 1954. Those kinds of things I will cut out and use. Friggin' genius. May have to cut that out. Anyway, lots of fun things that I can cut out and use here too. Not nearly as vintage, but it's 30 years newer. Always retract your knife, put it away safely. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'll probably bring you along, but just in case I forget, I am certainly going to reinforce these spines. I'm going to cut some pieces that will fit right in here. Some chipboard, something from one of my old steno pads. Looks like it's almost exactly the right height, so I will cut probably 2 of these, two here and 2 here, to reinforce the spine that's already here. But I am not going to take these apart so I can put them back together again. That's just stupid. So I'm going to do that. The other thing that I'm working on right now, same day, same time, right here. It is the Reader's Digest Complete Book of the Garden, Rock Gardens and Pests, and it's got some brilliant illustrations in it, trees, and I've already harvested a lot of the illustrations out of it for other projects. I think this book is from the 60s. I want to say 67, 63. I'll have to ask Dr. Google because I don't recall just now, but I'm going to make one of my 3-in-1s out of that. And what that means is I am spoiled. I don't like having to choose whether it be an altered book or a junk journal or a traveler's notebook, often called TN for short, because traveler's notebook, oh my god, that's exhausting. So they call it a TN or a glue book. I've been making 4-in-1s, and so I don't like to have to choose. I like, if I like all the choices, well then I want them all. I don't want to have to pick. So I started making, and I figured out how this happened. I have some spray bottles that were sitting near here, but they weren't, I always made sure they were clean. I figured out what happened, and I'll do a short video on it because I wouldn't have believed it had I not saw it. But what happens is when the temperatures rise and the heat builds up in the little spray bottles, they leak and they spit, and it ruined my, I have a white painted credenza by the window, and it's now stained red and blue. I didn't realize they were leaking. It ruined one of my white books too. But anyway, so this is one of my 3-in-1s or /4-in-1s if you want to make a glue book out of it. What that means is it's an altered book, meaning I left the text block in it. Junk journals often take this out and then build their own text, build their own guts, and sew them in or glue them in or tie them in to a cover. But an altered book, you leave the block in and you alter the pages. That might mean gluing paper to it. That might mean making pockets of the pages that are already there. That means altering the book. You can make a pocket out of pages, or a tuck, or just leave the pages. You could have, I'm pretty sure I have some top tucks in here. Maybe not, I don't know, but look at that. It spilled, that stupid green puked in my book. I am so bummed about that, but I learn, you learn as you go. So number 1, it's an altered book. Number 2, I've taken out the majority of the pages in the center, and I have approximately the same amount of text block on either side, but I took out a big fat chunk in the middle so that I can put a traveler's notebook style, not size, but style notebook in here. That means traveler's notebook, you have a beautiful, usually leather cover, and you are, let's say you're going to Ireland this week, and you take your traveler's notebook and you put it in your beautiful cover, and while you're in Ireland, you fill it up with notes and diary and journal and glue stuff in it and whatever you want to keep track of your traveler's experience. Then you come home and you take that Ireland booklet out, and then you grab a new one, or you make a new one, and you put it in your beautiful cover, and you travel someplace else, and you take all your notes and your ephemera from Paris. That's what a traveler's notebook style is. They're usually tall and thin so that they fit in where your passports would fit in. They're easily travelable. But traveler's style just means the ability to take things in and out. So that's 2. Now, I have an altered book that has a traveler's notebook style insert that I can decorate either as a glue book or a junk journal. I can now junk journal this up and fill it with ephemera or digikits or stuff that I make, or my own tags or tags I bought, or whatever. It can be anything you want. You can also use this if you're not traveling to Paris or France or Ireland. Use this part as a glue book. All in one. 3-in-1, altered book, traveler's notebook, junk journal, decorated junk journal style with an additional glue book feature if you want. All in one. All in one. I do believe this is my own design. I've not seen it anywhere else. I've not seen anyone else do it. But I like not having to choose. All this is a hair tie. And as the heat and time have their way with it, they lose some of their stretch. I just tied a knot in it, and now I can hang it if I want, or I can carry it to the beach this way, or I like having a hanging feature. I don't know why. This one I've used as samples. That's why all these tabs are in here for Jujo U. If you're kind of lost about junk journal terms and whatnot, on my Patreon page, I have something called Junk Journal Jargon. It comes with a free printable that's like a dictionary for junk journalers, and it explains the difference between an ATC and a TN and an ICAD and a tab and a tuck and a tuck in. What's the difference between a pocket and a tuck? What's the difference between a tag and a tuck? And what the hell is a belly band and inchies? I don't get it. What? It's all in Junk Journal Jargon on my Patreon page. I used this book as a sample. That's why all those tabs are there. But I'm going to make a 3-in-1 out of this. And it's going to have a botanical theme because it's a garden book. It just makes sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me to do a music journal in a garden book unless you're doing music in the garden. You know, you could mix and match like that, but I have a truckload of botanical stuff. This is a garden book. I am going to make this a 3-in-1 or 4-in-1 garden book. Now, I've taken the spine off. Actually, it fell off because it was just falling apart when I got it. And so in order to reinforce this spine, the innards seem to be okay, but you can see right through here that front cover might just come off pretty quick like. So how I'm going to avoid that is I'm going to cover, and I love that this is a garden green, dark green and a spring green. I'm going to use, of course, though I want the piece right in the middle. I'm going to use this hydrangea to reinforce that cover. I've penciled it in where I want to cut. I'm going to glue that over it, and then I'm going to use whatever's left to reinforce here and here, so that front and back, these covers are connected to this text block. But first, I'm going to just remove some more of these pages because I want to do the 3-in-1, so I'm going to take a good chunk of the center of this out, and I have to be careful because that might jack up the integrity of the whole book. But if I'm careful, I think I can do it. And I'm just going to go for it. So all I'm going to do, I'm not going to keep you here. I'm just going to tear out pages. And I'll bring you back when that part's done. Normally, if I'm doing stuff on the cover, I save that to last because I don't want to get it all gunked up. But this time, because the spine was so weak, that the first thing I want to do is take out a chunk of pages, but I was worried about the integrity of the spine and the whole book coming apart. So what I've done is cut out my piece of fabric that I wanted to cover the spine, and I used Fabri-Tac glue, Fabri-Tac, Fabri-Fix, 321, and Beacon are all the same glue. It's an acetone-based silicone glue. Really good for affixing fabric to stuff. But I'm running low, and so I put Fabri-Tac here and on the front. I also did the inside covers, attaching the inside cover to the text block. And here I used Fabri-Tac down in the gully, and some, because I'm running low of Fabri-Tac right this second. It's a good lesson. When you're halfway done, when your glue is at the halfway mark, order another one or buy it in bulk so you never run out. Because if I run out, my project's on hold. And that irritates me because I never come back to it. I shouldn't say never, but it could be months. So I'm using the Scotch Create Permanent Tacky, and I use that on the pages. So I use the Fabri-Tac down in the spine area, down in here, and this Scotch Create Tacky. I've only ever used this a few times. I used it in my homemade Mod Podge recipe for its tackiness. It does the job that I'm wanting it to do, in that it's attaching the material to the text block and the covers. Now what I'm going to do is I've eyed this up. Not done a very good job because I eyed this up about half and half. I could still take a little bit more out of here. And what my little clips are doing is just helping me remember what it is I'm taking out, the centerpiece, so that I can put a traveler style notebook insert in and out in this center area. I think that's how many I want out. When I lay it flat and look at my spine that way, that's what I'm gauging it on. I'm not measuring, I'm not doing any math division, taking the whole book and dividing it in thirds and putting half on this side and half on this side. I'm just eyeing it up because it just needs to be. But now I'm second guessing myself. That's going to be a big area, but that's okay. It's a nice wide spine. Maybe I won't take quite as much out. Maybe I'll do that. A little bit less out. So I'm going to take these pages out, and I'm also then going to, once these are out, I'm going to put a piece of material in that bridge to, once again, secure my book. See, it's not quite half. I'm still kind of screwing around with it. I'm sure all the professional bookbinders and book people are kind of cringing, but it's my project. I'll do it my way. I'll take it to leak, you know. Gotta find your own way with this stuff. So I'm just going to take out that many, and I'm going to quit second guessing it and worrying about it. I'm going to take out that many and then put in more material, and I'll be back. I pulled a chunk of my pages out, as I said I wanted to, and that's a nice chunk. I mean, that's a giant gap for a traveler style notebook to fit in. I only have black hair ties. I took this outside and I sprayed it with bleach, hoping it would turn brown. It did not. I've been shopping, and everywhere I look for brown hair ties. I haven't found any. So black is going to have to do for now. I'm sure it'll grow on me. Normally, I think I said this in another video, I don't usually do the cover, but because it was so weak, I wanted to get it secured before I started tearing more pages out. So this is a part of a digikit that Carrie at Carrie's Mixed Media Arts did for her Patreon page. For her patrons. Little Women, I think it was around Christmas time, and it was just perfect. It's got the perfect natural green, a very yellowy springtime green to match the cover. This, by the way, was a thrifted placemat. My mom went to a thrift, like a giant community garage sale, and brought me, I think, 4 of these placemats. I shouldn't say placemats, maybe more like giant napkins. Maybe they could be used for either or, because they're a good size. They might be just cloth napkins, but they make fine book covers because they're nice and heavy and usually really pretty patterns. I did not like this pattern at all and thought I would never ever use it. But one day it just clicked. This green would match very nicely, and this is again a garden book, so why not hydrangeas? It's just perfect. Funny how stuff like that works out. So I took a chunk of the pages out, as I said. I had harvested this book for the best illustrations for another project that I had been working on, but once I went through and pulled out all the pages that I wanted to pull out, I went through this and looked for as many gifts as I could, like more illustrations. And there was quite a few left in there. I was surprised because I thought I had snagged them all. But nice sepia. toned illustrations, some pretty green illustrations. Again, the whole book is about gardening, so why shouldn't the ephemera also be about gardening? More gifts, de-shooting, tying off, a little patio scape, using the fencing to save your bushes from the wind, dormant eyes or buds for pruning, how to identify them, making a cage to protect, making a cage to protect your berry bushes, the growth life of trees, living walls of green that are hedges, and also some words and phrases, perennials, biennials, evergreen, ground covers, the wonders of plant growing, bloomberries and fall colors, because that will make good ephemera. I also tucked some things in here already, some full pages from the book. Again, how to, this is called How to Start New Plants from Cuttings, different kinds, and then how to plant them. I inked it up slightly, and that just fits in one of the tucks. That'll probably change, but I wanted a home for them and see how they would fit, etc. Seaside Gardens. I think there's one more in here. I thought that was a great illustration. By the way, here's a Krabby Crafter tip for you YouTubers. If you're filming for an audience, if you're doing this kind of stuff, don't hold things like this so you can see them. I see so many crafters say, look, I got all these new things. Check out all this new stuff that I got. We're up here. We can't see. If you can see it, we can't. The number one rule of content creating, whether you're writing a story, an essay for composition, whether you're writing a novel, or creating content for a YouTube audience, consider your audience. Be considerate of your audience. Know where they're at. They're not at your belly. They're here. They're not at your chest. They can't see what you're seeing if your camera is up here. And so many people do this. I don't know if you know this or not, but YouTube now has a zoom feature. If you're watching on a mobile device, like a phone or an iPad, I think it'll even work on a laptop. Won't work, of course, when you're casting, but you can zoom in. So if someone just doesn't know enough that this is too far away for you to see the details of what that says, you can, as a viewer, you can zoom right in, and you can move it around so you can see exactly what they're doing. Look how nice that is. So if you're watching a video and the content is worth watching and you really want to see what they're doing, you can zoom in on mobile devices, and I believe laptops as well, just not when you're casting to your big screen or your television or whatever. So that's a nice feature to have. And again, YouTubers, take your audience into consideration. And if you're looking at something very small, look at your camera and see, is it teeny weeny? If so, zoom it in for us, because we can't see what you're doing. And there's nothing so frustrating as trying to play along, trying to get what you're saying, but not being able to see what you're talking about. Krabby Crafter has left the building for a moment. She's never far, so she may come back. Here's another thing. Yeah, look, she didn't even get out of the room. Doki Doki Forest, Amy and I were chit-chatting. She put out a really nice little video of her doing work in one of her journals. She was sketching and journaling and showing us videos of her walk in the woods, and it's just a really nice, relaxing. I was editing true crime stuff, so it was a nice break to take a walk with her in the woods and watch her draw for a little while. Anyway, it's about a 30-minute video, and all throughout it, she had just this really nice, relaxing music. And I commented on that, and I said that I appreciated that as a content creator, she didn't just loop the same song over and over and over. Those of you who are old enough to remember skipped records, how irritating it is to hear a record skip over and over and over. Same old thing, same old thing, same old thing. It drives you bananas. I was trying to watch a longer video the other day on gel plate printing, and it was about a 50-minute video. And the song that the person chose was not quite 2 minutes long. Let's just say it was 2 minutes. It wasn't. It was about 1.5 minutes long, but that's hard math. So 50-minute video, 2-minute loop, over and over 25 times. That same little song, that same little song, that same little song, same little song, that same little song. Yes, you can mute it, but you might miss something. Put closed captions on, but then you gotta really, really, really watch and make sure you don't miss anything. So again, just be considerate of your audience. And this is for YouTube content creators, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube video, consider your audience. Anyway, so my audience is here for this update. It's for crafting, not crabbing, but here it's all kind of intermixed, and so welcome. One thing I was really, really excited to show you is I like to include digikits where I can, because to me it's an easy way to tie the whole thing together. And so I knew that I wanted to use this vintage rose thing. Is not really my thing necessarily, but I thought this was perfect for a gardening altered book. And so I went to Etsy and I found this fantastic kit. I'll link the person's name below, or I'll throw it up on the screen. Digital Boat, I want to say. We'll see if I'm close. But it coordinates beautifully with Carrie's. I think it's called Pink Shabby Pink, something or other. And I just loved the colors, because this is kind of a muted green. Again, it's got that green right in it. This is an odd sort of yellowy dried grass green, even though I'm calling it spring green. It's more, damn, it's hot out, summer grass is dead green, but it had this color right in it, as well as the pinks from the placemat. And I like coordinating things, not necessarily matchy-matchy, but coordinating. That gives it a cohesive feel rather than just scattershot. Like, oh, I just picked up anything off my desk. And that to me looks like Walt Disney puked, like Walt Disney vomited in your book. Some people love it, to each their own. So anyway, this kit goes beautifully with the pages I've already put in it and my theme. Little wheelbarrow, so cute. Seeds and bulbs. I mean, it's just perfect. Christ catalog, 1876. I just love it. And my favorite part is I went to my own collection of digikits and I used the coffee collection. I wasn't sure which would work best, so I tried Peppermint Love, the pink, and it goes beautifully because it's got the coffee brown sepia with that hint of pink, that hint of Peppermint Love, beautifully with the pinks. This is just straight up regular coffee. This is a digital print from my coffee collection, available on Etsy. This is just the plain Jane coffee one. It too goes beautifully with the others. And I tried, just for giggles, iced coffee, because this has sort of a bluish light eucalyptus color in the back. So I tried the iced coffee. I think that works wonderfully with the kit too. And that's the pink one. And pumpkin spice goes really, really well with the kit from Carrie, the page from Carrie. And it goes really, really well with the kit from Etsy that I just purchased. And I was surprised to see that they all kind of work pretty well together. I guess, am I missing one? I am. Okay, so here's the iced coffee, regular coffee. I did two. I totally lied. I did not do regular coffee. These two are pumpkin spice. Has just a hint of orange. Just a hint. of fall pumpkin spice. So they go together. Pumpkin, peppermint, and iced coffee. They work together well too. Sort of the three primaries, blue, red, and yellow. Of course they go together. Like peas and carrots. I don't know why I'm surprised, but how fun. So what I'm doing with these is these will be part of my traveler's notebook that's going to fit right in there with my other coffee dyed papers and whatever miscellaneous junk journal papers I want to include. But again, I want to tie the whole thing together. So, and I hate to admit this, but I had to print some with borders because I am going to put some on the pages. And I want to include all the good parts. And if I printed borderless, it's way too big. I'd end up trimming off the best bits. And so I scaled it down to fit, so the print would fit in the pages of the book to cover up the text. So trimming. Oh, I can't wait for trimming. The kit also came with various bits and parts. Beautiful little postcards. See what my printer is still doing? It's feeding too far in before it starts printing, and then it cuts off half of my... Oh, that irritates the bejesus out of me. But I can use this for collage. I can use this for pocket talks. You know, it's fine. I'd rather it didn't do that, though. I'd like to have the whole postcard, please. Thank you. And all of the tickets. Thank you very much. Cute little sayings. I scaled this down quite a bit. This one might be regular size. And yeah, there's a winged little nightmare there, but they'll go away. Vertical writing. That's interesting. And my little corner bits and just little bits and pieces for clusters, little pockets and tickets and stamps and such. I printed those on cardstock. Give them a little more body. This was a completely different kit, and it was pretty bright white comparatively. You know, this is all nice and vintagey already. This was pretty bright white, so I bought it. I pulled it up into Canva, as I often do, and I changed it. I put I think it's called antique. It might be nostalgic or retro. I think it's nostalgic or antique filter over it, and it just grunged it all down a little bit. It just took it from bright shiny white down to matchy coordinate for me, and then I took my vintage photo to it and just grunged it up a little bit further. Here's another thing that I see crafters do that drives me bananas. I have a whole sheet of little bits and bobs here. Bits and bobs. And I see people cut these out individually, and then one by one, why wouldn't you just vintage them all up on one sheet and then cut them up? I realize you're still going to have to do the edges because you'll have that bright white edge, but it's 10 times faster to do one than 22, 25 pieces. Just do one. Just vintage it up now. It's the same thing. It's the same dauber. I don't get it. Cut it all apart and then spend an eternity vintaging up 50 pieces versus one. I don't get it. And they make us watch it. If you want to ink up 50 pieces, go do it on your own time. All right. Hobby crafter. So that's where I'm at with this. It's coming along nicely. As I go, when I have scraps and pieces, if I'm not sure what I want to do with this print part yet, but if they don't have anything on it, I'm cutting out sizes for tabs. So these will go on the page edging. Thusly. A whole bunch of them. I probably will cut one of these up with color on so that the color that's on the cover will go throughout. I probably will do that for sure. What are all these purple marks? So I said this is a 3-in-1. Altered book, number 1. Traveler's notebook insert, number 2. It could be decorated junk journal style, number 3. The insert, if you want, could serve as a glue book for vintage gardening stuff. Or the whole thing could be used as a glue book. So there's 4 in one. But these purple pages are where I had already tore pieces out, and I was tearing other pieces out, and I needed to glue several pages together to hide that there were pages torn out. So these are really thick. It might be 3 or 4 pages glued together. So these might be where I put my tabs. These could handle art journaling because they're so thick. It could be an art journal. So now we're up to a 5-in-1, possibly. How cool is that? You don't have to pick. You can have it all. You can. You absolutely can. And so that's what these purple markers are for, is to let me know at a glance where those nice heavy pages are versus super skinny pages that were original. Now they're pretty hardy. Also, as I'm collecting bits and pieces of my digikits, my napkin, pieces that I've used elsewhere. I love using indexes for cluster backgrounds because it's going to have all the right words: macadamia, mahogany, maple, maps, melon, marlberry, marsh plants. Fun stuff. So I kept a lot of the index for clusters and small pieces that are too small for tabs but perfect size for making clusters. And I just watched Carrie at Mixed Media Arts do her tatty tabs video. I could tatty up. I can't, where'd they go? Do something else with this. Put pieces of paper on it, put pieces of the index on it, sew them. There's all kinds of ways to jazz up little tabs. They don't have to stay plain like that. So I'm collecting bits and pieces for clusters as I go. And that's how I kind of work. Large, down to smaller bits and pieces. So I'm getting the overall book ready and then putting the pages in and then making the decorations, the medium size, the postcards and the pocket tucks and those kind of things, making those next, and then working my way down to the smallest bits, because then I'll have a giant pile of stuff with which to make clusters to adorn pages, or to adorn belly bands that are already there, or to jazz up my tabs or my tuck-ins, whatever I feel like tucking in here. I may jazz these up somehow, some way, or just leave them as a little informational bit. I'm also going to leave some of the pages unaltered. For example, this first bit about for everyone who loves a garden, I'm leaving that, even though it ends. It's kind of irritating. It ends and there's no page 2 because we jumped to page 17. So I'll probably cover that. But I thought that was fun. A fun intro. There are some others that I will probably just leave because they're interesting. There are some illustrations and things left right in, so I may just leave that, so that a lot of the original book is retained and remains through the project, so that we always know exactly what kind of book this is. That is my update on this project. I'm going to do a few more updates on other projects, and we'll chat again soon.